We are back, but we want to clear something up because we said some things that were not exactly accurate.
Well, what's the accurate thing about Joan Rivers and Jay Leno and David Letterman is that she's never been on those two shows. She has been on Kimmel and maybe even on Conan. But it's Jay and David that have been closed ranks around her because of Johnny Carson.
Sure.
Unless they want to respond to this, let them respond. Because I mean, that's what I heard.
Said that's right.
She's told me this personally, so I have first-hand information.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Well, there are a lot of misunderstandings these days, and tonight is the Beer Summit. At 6 o'clock tonight at the White House, Dr. Henry Louis Gates and Sergeant James Crowley are going to sit down with the president at the picnic table near where the swings are, and they're going to have a beer together. A little problem about the beers, because the beers that they supposedly like are not American-made beers, they're foreign beers.
Yeah, but you know what? They're getting Bud Light, which was made by Anheuser-Busch. I don't drink beer, which was only purchased last year. And I got to say, I lived in California, in Panorama City, on Roscoe and Sepulveda. Jeffrey and I would go by there every day, and I never saw any German people walking out there playing. It was always Americans. They employed a bunch of Americans.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, they just got bought last year.
Okay, but in any event, we hear that
I agree with you on that. I think they should have picked an American beer company.
But
I mean,
they have all of these beers at the bars when you go.
I know, but this is the president. Everything is symbolic when the president does it. So he should have done. He should have made sure. His people should have made sure.
Nice to have that there.
But
in any event, I hear that it was Sergeant Crowley's idea to have the beer and to say, listen, whatever I said and whatever you said, everybody shakes hands, they go chug-a-lug and peace on earth and back to, back to real life.
Because a lot of people are saying that Lisa Whalen, who placed the 911 call, should also have been invited to the beer summit. And they're saying, what is it, just a guy thing? She was involved in this triangle. I think absolutely.
But the situation, regardless of how it happened, there was a situation between these two men which need to be taken care of. I don't understand why she needs to be there.
Well, because her transcript of her call was initially brought in question as to whether or not she made the call based on race. And then it was played over and over again, analyzed to death by America.
So I think from the call it wasn't based on race.
No, it wasn't.
Going to do?
I think it would be a great thing for her to be there. I think she's the one who placed the call, and it doesn't hurt for her to be there. She was certainly involved in the whole.
But it sort of takes away from the two of them trying to have a relationship and make peace. I think there's one thing that's very good about what she did, and that is that nobody should be discouraged if you see something that you think is going on. I mean, she was a very good citizen, whether she's chug-a-lugging the beer or not. She did make the phone call. Of course, she never mentioned, race in that sense. But I think just the fact that she did it, people should not be discouraged into saying, you look at the trouble you get in, so I'm not going to report somebody.
I think she might be there.
I think she should go, too, because it's more publicity for her to get the word out that she did not make it a racial statement. And this male bonding thing is tedious at this point.
What's wrong with male bonding?
Let the woman in the thing.
What's wrong with the male bonding? Maybe that's how they need to get together, like Crowley suggested, and have a beer.
Female influence doesn't hurt all this male bonding.
Well, then Michelle could have joined.
She was brought into this situation. She was brought into this situation publicly, and I think it could actually benefit everybody by having her there. I think by not having her there, it's actually leaving out a huge part of this.
Person in the mix. It's like, you got a third party who's trying to work this out. You just bring in another person into the mix doing it.
She started the whole thing.
She made the call.
That whatever happens tonight, that the two of them get together, that they shake hands, because this is day after day after day after day of this.
And it's just another distraction.
Like I said, let's get to health care.
Well, but
Well, he was trying to do health care. He did the whole 40 minutes, and it was just that last question.
Because it's easier to understand something like this. Health care is confusing to people. It's making everybody crazy.
Well, but other things have happened, because while we're talking about, this is a racist, that's a racist, there's a man named Glenn Beck who has been on this program because he made some accusations against Whoopi and me, and it turned out to be wrong, and we worked it out. But now he is saying on Fox, and it gets a lot of attention, I guess that's what he wants, that Obama is racist. Because of what he said. Forgetting the fact that Obama was raised by white grandparents, is half white, had a white mother, but because he said the wrong thing, to call the Cambridge police that it was stupidity. Here is Glenn Beck saying he has, quote, a deep-seated hatred for white people or the white culture.
See, but then he goes on to say,
because it's so ridiculous.
But then he goes on to say, but I'm not saying he doesn't hate, I'm not saying that he hates white people. So it's like you're going both ways there.
Well, Glenn Beck loves to have attention. He'll do anything to get his fudge out there, you know? This guy. I mean, he would say that Mother Teresa was a clothes horse to get publicity. I mean, that's his whole shtick, is to be on television, and everybody should look at him and give him more of your hard-earned money.
You know what? It's working. We're talking about him.
But there's danger in what he said, too. I mean, that was a bit sensationalist to go and say something like this. And I think whenever you throw that word out at somebody, you better be able to back it up.
Well,
and he's not able to.
You notice that Fox TV has distanced themselves from this and
yes
saying,
and no.
Well, they said it's not their policy.
No, what they've said is he's a commentator and he's allowed to say whatever he says. And, you know, Roger Ailes, who is the head of the Fox network, is a very savvy guy.
Right.
But, you know, there are other remarks that people would make, and they would be suspended for something maybe that was sexual or sexist or so forth. This is a very serious thing to say, and at a time when there's so much going on that we need to concentrate on, to ignite and incite these flames.
Well, what about all the stuff that Bill O'Reilly was saying about that abortion doctor, which might have been considered inciting the guy to get killed also? You can't suppress people's First Amendment rights. He has the right to say these stupid things.
As did people during, I mean, even during Katrina, we heard people say that our president at the time, President Bush, was racist because he didn't do enough for the people there in that community. And so I think that we're going to hear these things throughout, we have throughout history. We're going to continue to hear them. Danger is, though, when you're just throwing it out there to maybe just catch some airtime, as you say.
Well, these are still people who are still not getting over the fact that they still hold on to the thing of he's a Muslim and he didn't put his hand over his chest.
He wasn't born in this country.
So this is just something else now, and now he wasn't born in the country.
What about that other paranoid group that keeps insisting that he doesn't have his birth certificate? Please, I mean, so these people adding Creedmoor.
So we applaud Glenn Beck's right to say whatever he wants and freedom of speech, but we deplore what he said. What did you say?
I said Creedmoor is a mental hospital in New York for people in Wisconsin who never heard of Creedmoor.
I see. Thank you for clearing that up. We'll be right back with a little news about Michael Jackson.